como dices tú, parece que fue ayer, pero it's gone by very, very, very quickly. But so much has happened in that space of time in the last 12 months. It's incredible. I mean, we couldn't have imagined in our wildest dreams the journey that we've been through in the last 12 months, which has seen us build a lot of links with universities around the world. We've actually been invited to University of Cambridge twice in the last 12 months. We've had the Historical Social Linguistic Network representatives coming to Gibraltar to learn about our language. Plus what is happening locally. I think we've seen over the past year, we've seen definitely seen a change in society with respect to languages, at least a greater awareness of it.
I think you formed the group at the right time, no?
I think so. I really do think so. I think for a long time, I think people have been thinking about this. I've definitely had that conversation many a time over many the past many years about language loss. Language loss is really what motivated us and what got us going. I remember, in fact, obviously as a teacher, having taught Spanish for practically 30 years in Bayside School, I noticed the deterioration in the level of Spanish among students. But it was actually a GBC, funnily enough, a GBC program that actually brought it home. I think it was back in 2015. It was James Nish who actually went out to find out how much Spanish or Yanito young people knew, and he went to the careers fair down at the Tercentenary Hall, and watching that and realizing, how hard it was for a lot of them just to string a few words of Spanish or Yanito together, really made me realize that we had to do something about it. That it wasn't just "no eran cosas mías." It was actually a reality.
And the broadcaster itself has relaxed. It's we hear more Yanito now on GBC and Radio Gibraltar.
And in fact, it is very refreshing, because ultimately the national broadcaster, I think, has a responsibility in that respect to reflect our society. And if we just reflect the sort of the English speaking part of our society, which obviously is a very important
is the more
element,
formal one, the language of business,
the administrative,
of education,
politics, etc. But there is the other side that really wasn't coming through, or it's not been coming through very often.
Broma.
Sí, no, y mismamente la manera en que hablamos, ¿no? Porque
some phrases just come to you in Spanish, ¿no?
Sí, y a veces también que no solamente, I mean, Yanito's been used very often for humor, which obviously it works perfectly well because people feel identified. Cuando tú vas y ves un play, it's a comedy, it's a farce, y están hablando en Yanito, ¿no?
It makes it particular to this place that we call home.
People identify with that. But it's not only a language that is used for humor. Our family tragedies, our sad moments are also shared in Yanito at home. It's a language of the home, language of the family, the language of socializing.
Well, shout out now to Kevin Ruiz, because that's one of the things that he has said,
I know,
for a number of years, that he wanted to do City Pulse always in Yanito, because it allowed people to tell their stories in a way that they felt most comfortable doing.
Natural. I mean, I've always struggled with the question, what is your native language? Para mí eso siempre ha sido una pregunta muy difícil de contestar. I grew up in a family where my mother was Spanish, therefore the language of the home was mainly Spanish, Yanito Spanish. My father was Gibraltarian, but didn't really have an education in English. So that's what I grew up with. But from a very early age, I was in nursery. In fact, I started nursery at the tender age of 10 months. So basically when you're starting to learn. So I started learning English at the same time. But ultimately, my native language, where I feel most comfortable, is in a situation where I'm talking Yanito. And something I need to clarify, I think very often we don't know what we mean by Yanito. What we have very often, or what we do very often, and is what we're doing now, is a code switch, where we code switch not between Spanish and Yanito. It's not standard Spanish. We do not speak standard Spanish as a regular, form of communication. We do learn it, and we then can use it with non-Yanito
Fingers
speakers.
crossed to a better or lesser extent.
Now
Porque hace falta practicarlo.
Sí, no. Now to a much lesser extent. But a lot of Gibraltarians que se han encontrado a lo mejor in a professional situation having to use Spanish have felt uncomfortable. But it's understandable. We don't have a bilingual education system. Our system is primarily English, and Spanish is taught in a very limited way. Entonces eso se entiende que tú no vas a tener ese nivel de español, pero tenemos el nivel de un español which is different, which is Yanito, and the origins of it are very interesting. That is why it's important to involve academics from outside Gibraltar. We've been very lucky this AGM to have Professor Laura Wright from the University of Cambridge, and she is a historical social linguist. So she basically studies how languages evolve, develop over time. She specializes in the medieval period. So she, at that time, what we now call English was very similar to what we call Yanito, in the sense that you had different languages in contact with each other, eventually merging into what is nowadays English, what we're speaking today.
Manuel, it's a really interesting conversation, and given how far the group has come, we are going to have to invite you back to carry it on and continue to build our understanding of the importance of being a multilingual society and what it means for us. We're going to wrap up for now, but let's shake hands on bringing you back soon so that we can continue the conversation. And you can tell us a little bit more about your plans for the year and stuff like that.
Yes,
right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Manuel Enriles is the president of the group Gibraltarians for a Multilingual Society, who celebrated their AGM this week. Really interesting developments in that space.